Michael Burke still speaks of his brother in the present tense.
He's wearing the turnout coat, the familiar fireman's large leather turnout coat.
His brother, firefighter Billy Burke, was helping a paralyzed man out of the North Tower of the World Trade Center when it collapsed September 11th.
He disappeared in the history is the way I see it.
His remains have never been found.
Yeah, at that time, it was 2 or 3 days later. You're still hoping for a miracle. But they're not looking for survivors. They weren't looking for bodies. They were looking for DNA.
If he had some remains, Michael says he'd go to his brother's favorite beach and spread the ashes. Firefighter Billy Burke is just one of 1,100 people killed in New York that day whose remains have never been identified.
To filter out anything.
Mark Desire is a director of forensics at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. He oversees a team that is trying to put names on 9,000 still unidentified human bone fragments recovered from 9/11.
We have attempted DNA multiple times on all of these samples.
5 scientists work 7 days a week, pulverizing the smallest of bone fragments, reaching the cell, and extracting the DNA.
So we process about 400 bones per month.
The science has come a long way in 10 years.
Better detergents and chemicals to help break apart as many of those cells as possible.
Dozens of body parts have been newly identified so far this year. The process helps people like Lee Hansen. On 9/11, these men killed his 2-year-old granddaughter, Sue.
My granddaughter would be 12 years old now.
Along with his son Peter and daughter-in-law, Christine. His son called him from aboard hijacked flight United 175.
All of a sudden, he said, very softly, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And then I heard a woman screaming, and nothing.
He watched them all die on live television. Later, the medical examiner's office identified a bone from his son's leg.
It went like from here to here in my hand. It was very small. It was not very much. But it was part of my son, and I realized it was part of my son. And I realized then why people wanted it, because it meant something that I had at least that.
Later, another bone from Peter Hansen was identified. Rather than go through another burial, his family is allowing it to be put at Ground Zero at the 9/11 Memorial Museum that opens next year. In fact, all human remains not claimed by family members or yet identified will be moved from this tent on the east side of Manhattan to a special dry room underground at the Memorial Museum at Ground Zero. The process of continuing to identify the remains will continue there. Charles Wolfe has learned to move on from his wife Catherine's death without her remains being found.
That even we say the body of so-and-so, it's not so-and-so, it's the body of so-and-so. And so so-and-so is still alive in the spiritual world.
She worked on the 97th floor of the North Tower.
She was right in the path of the first airplane. And so she was, vaporized, disintegrated instantaneously.
Wolfe believes many victims will never be found.
Go up in smoke and are totally gone and are spread all over Brooklyn, and people were wiping them off their jackets, and people were showering off people's remains, or it's out to sea. Who's to say that everyone's remain will ever be found?
There are also likely many tiny, tiny pieces of human remains at the Fresh Kills landfill. That's where debris from the World Trade Center was put. Searchers recovered all the body parts they could. Still, Charles Wolfe holds out a bit of hope that one day they identify a piece of his wife so they can be buried side by side. Ted Shaffrey, Associated Press, New York.